Oh gosh, you guys. Oh no. I'm in some hot water. So, it turns out if you listen to real spooky music, you get possessed by demons. I listened to that all the time in my youth and days. Sure, it's actually a Christian metal band, but I've been informed the whole metal genre is demonic. That's not all, though. I've also been demon-possessed because I used to read a book series involving witchcraft, and turns out that also puts just all the demons in ya. It must be the demons I got exposed to there that makes me support trans people. If that weren't bad enough, I'm actually triply demoned because a very reliable source tells me when you're catching Pokemons, you're also catching demons. See, in high school, I had a statistics class where some of the other guys installed Game Boy emulators on all of the classroom computers, and so instead of doing mathematics, I named my Trico Bitch, so every time I went into battle, the little dude, who mistakenly thought he was still inside a Game Boy, would yell, "Go bitch!" And now there are demons inside of my blood cells. Blood carries oxygen and also demons. When you grow up in the religious context of my upbringing, you see a lot of this kind of talk. If you haven't watched my other videos, I was raised United Methodist in the Bible Belt. If you have watched my other videos, I was still raised United Methodist in the Bible Belt. Why would the answer have changed? I heard all of the classics. Ouija boards obviously connect straight to hell. One friend's mother recalls a time she made the mistake of using hallucinogens while playing with a Ouija board, and then she witnessed Satan himself. If that doesn't prove it, well, there is no second half to this sentence. That is her sole takeaway. There is only one possible explanation, and that is the existence of El Diablo. When The Golden Compass was a movie in theaters, obviously they warned us about all the demons that come with that because it's apparently an atheist movie, and atheists clearly love demons. But those are too obvious. Anything innocuous that doesn't mesh easily with an intentionally hyper-narrow worldview was, is, and will continue to be linked to demonic presence by fundamentalists as the need arises. Evolution? Demons. Really, any sort of science? Demons. Asking to clarify Bible verses that appear to conflict with the details provided in a different Bible verse? Demons. Your girlfriend did some over-the-clothes crotch touchery? Demons. Right up your urethra. In case context clues haven't made it clear, I don't believe in demons. Of course, I'm a weird, sticky non-believer. Of course I would reject invisible goat lizards that exist intangibly all around us at all times, excluding when we sing gospel songs written in between 1750 and 1959. Christian music after that is obviously just pop music, and guess what? Pop music is also demonic. It's obviously far more important that demons exist to Christians because... Actually, let's make sure we're all on the same page for the Christian worldview first. So, you have God, and he made humans who are inherently sinful, which means they will fuck up and do bad shit by default. Things suck because we do bad shit. And the only way to be saved is to know about the time he killed himself and to agree it was a good idea. That's the gist. The Jesus gist. It's a very strict contract, which he signs with his own execution blood. Their metaphor, I did not come up with it, that's pretty metal, not gonna lie. So demons play an important role in this process because... Okay, let's figure out what demons are first. According to Christians, they are fallen angels who chose to follow Satan's rebellion. Except other Christians disagree and say they are distinct from fallen angels, and that they are simply spirits that were evil from their inception. A third theory states they are the bastard children from fallen angels and humans porking. A fourth states they are actually the ghosts of giants who died in Noah's flood, and these giants may or may not have also been the third theory I mentioned too. A fifth theory, fucking hell, posits that there was a different race of people God created before Adam and Eve, and demons are their ghosts. I know I'm a wacky guy, full of jokes and giggles, but I did not make up any of these. These are real ideas, ex-gens put forward as possible explanations. Let's check the Bible. It's unclear. I'm going to look at the most explicit examples I could find, since, as you have seen, the fan theories are all over the place. In the Old Testament, demons did not exist in any contemporarily recognizable form until the first Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, the Septuagint, and were a category to merge the gods of other nations Scripture mentions into something less divine, since the contemporaneous target audience was uninterested in polytheism. Side note, yes, the older version of the Old Testament, acknowledged the existence of other gods. These stories weren't truly polytheistic, since they didn't worship the other gods. The term is monolatry, since they merely thought the other gods were real too, but you shouldn't worship those gods. Side note off of my side note, because apparently the demons in me make me very unfocused. There is strong textual evidence that even earlier than that, the beliefs actually were outright polytheistic, and Yahweh was just a storm god in a larger pantheon. I've not read up much further than that yet, so I'll get back on topic. Ancient Hebrews retconned ancient gods mentioned in their scriptures into demons. If we allow these changes made to Old Testament theology centuries after the stories were first in circulation, this means demons can give you magic powers, like when the Egyptian magicians used their evil magics to whip out their snakes, and then Moses used his god magic to whip out his snake, and then his snake swallowed up their snakes. This is not a joke about docking. Jews are circumcised, and it doesn't work without the foreskin. The Old Testy also includes other explicitly evil spirits, but they were sent out under God's command, so that actually doesn't count in demonology. Hey God, why do you have a bunch of evil henchmen? You maybe wanna explain that? The New Testament has a bunch of actual demons, and they pretty much always possess people to make their lives sucky, controlling them like meat muppets and causing them a broad deal of misery. They still don't really get much explanation beyond that. Satan himself does get a lot of lore introduced in the New Testy, and the shit he does frequently gets conglomerated in with demons, but that is technically an interpretation that comes much later than the actual stories. The original writers did not seem to intend that. Otherwise, why would they establish a satanic hierarchy and have Satan explicitly doing one type of thing, while his demonic underlings are explicitly shown doing a different type of thing? But I'll cut the most powerful religious group in history some slack, for some reason, and say Satan's thugs can share some of his attributes as a treat. Satan, and by transitive property, demons, tempt people into sinning. So, demons are some sort of poorly defined evil spirit who pretend to be other gods, give followers magic powers, possess and control people, and tempt you to be naughty. That's a little more concrete. Let's see how these fit with the Christian narrative. First, demons pretend to be gods. This one certainly sounds pretty crucial. If God's plan requires you to have the right information, and these guys are spreading misinformation, obviously now you can't be saved. This does raise a lot of questions about divine hiddenness and why a 3-layer omni-god burrito didn't make such a crucial message more clear, but that's not something I'm going to harp on about today, because those problems still exist without demons in the picture. Demons pretending to be gods are redundant, since humans can also just be wrong and come up with fake gods on their own. There is no discernible difference between a religion where someone was mistaken on their own hundreds of generations ago, and a religion where someone was tricked by a demon hundreds of generations ago. This just seems like a cheap shot at other belief systems because you don't like them. Now, there could theoretically be a difference if the demon in question is routinely interacting with humans. Even if Christians could explain why God has to stay hidden, why in the goddamn hell would a demon play by the same rules? They want to trick people. Wouldn't a demon be more effective constantly appearing to non-believers, saying, "Hey, look at me. Believe in me, I'm totally a real God. Here's a secret phrase I only told to a complete stranger. Meet them at this designated Starbucks, and their knowledge of the secret phrase proves I'm not just a hallucination. Christians already believe demons have comparatively few space-time limitations teleporting around, since they can just get you at most any time or place through books, sound waves, the internet, or female nipples, to name a few. So why don't they use it more effectively? Are you telling me the ultimate armies of evil couldn't even come up with a better plan than Bane Shake's Charlie? Pathetic. If you want me to swallow the idea that demons are playing phony gods, you'll have to start by demonstrating why other religions are actually more convincing than I find them to be. Because I am not convinced by other religions' God claims either. Second, demons giving people magic powers. The witchcraft argument. It's slightly more theologically consistent with the Christian meta-narrative now. Now, it's about the choice. Either follow boring old Jehovah, or you can do cool shit like levitation and throwing fireballs and whipping your snake out. Jehovah doesn't let his followers whip their snakes out anymore, for some reason. Still raises the same question of optics. Why wouldn't demons do this all the time? Sure, I currently don't believe in magic, so if a chupacabra appeared to me in a darkened room and offered me a wabbajack, I would first check the expiration dates in my fridge, assuming I ate something funky. But if I saw rampant use of people just going about their lives with magical powers, yet again, that offer would be more effective. The more these hordes of demons make the benefits publicly visible, the more they'll succeed at roping people in. Currently, demon magic appears to be in the same boat as God-given abilities, in that Christians report it happening without it being sufficiently demonstrated as happening. Christian scriptures claim Jesus will also let you walk on water with him, or raise people from the dead, or to instantly know other languages, or to terraform a fucking mountain. I've never seen any verifiable evidence for God powers. In fact, since being snake-proof is one such power circulated scripturally and popularized in specific snake-handling denominations, and said snake handlers routinely get killed to death by said snakes, I've only seen verifiable evidence against God powers working. Back on demon topic, there are also fatalities connected to supposed demon powers. Witch trials, where Christians accused people of devil magic, proceeded to murder them for devil magicry, and said people demonstrated no magic whatsoever as they died cruel and unjust deaths. That's a few more points of evidence against demon powers, and against a loving God, too. Good job. Maybe possessing and controlling people will get demons a few points? It is the most explicit thing the Bible has demons doing, after all. Possessing and controlling people won't get demons a few points. Ignoring for a moment that things like microbiology, prions, mental health conditions or crises, physical health conditions, sleep paralysis, mind-altering substances, hoaxes, or a number of other empirically backed natural causes explain symptoms that could be mistaken for a spiritual attack in any time and place where such things are either impossible to know about or likely to be actively overlooked, and allowing for a moment the fundamentalist argument that doing apparently innocuous things can semi-secretly put evil spirits inside of you, you're still creating some nasty theological implications. Remember, God needs you to know his setup, and he needs you to agree. Otherwise, he can't or won't save you. If demons operated under the same conditions, as in, it identifies itself as a demon, it tells you exactly what you get out of the bargain, and what it gets to do with your meat muppet, I see no theological hang-ups that I'm concerned about here. However, demons instead possess people who don't know they are there, and have no reason to believe, asterisk, that they are entering into an eternal soul-damning agreement by doing the apparently innocuous thing they are doing. I'll come right back to that asterisk, I promise. In this setup, in the here and now at the very least, the demons have more power to reach their goal of damning souls than God does in his goal of saving souls. Why the fuck would he allow that? If he can't stop it right now, he's not all-powerful, and if he could but won't stop it until later, or even never at all, he's not all-loving. Now we're just discussing the God paradox, which applies without demons too, yet again illustrating how redundant and pointless demons are in these conversations. Let's check out that nice asterisk I showed in your face. Christians will argue there is one reason to know about and believe the risk of possession, because they know about it and they are warning you about it. In conflicting ways that can't be corroborated, but they are telling you. If this is God's anti-demon plan, his plan fucking sucks. This is a tangent, but it's a worthwhile tangent. Let's metaphoricalize God's anti-demon plan. Let's say that I witnessed a mad scientist set up a secret trapdoor outside of a Moe's Southwest Grill to kidnap unsuspecting middle-income snobs who refuse to eat at Taco Bell. When they fall in, he puts microchips in their brains that force them to make duck quacks at his discretion. And also, this somehow eventually damns their soul to eternal hellfire. Not only did I see him do this, I'm also invulnerable in this setup, so he literally cannot harm me, and I have numerous guns I am justified in shooting him with, because I also wrote the town laws. Also, I've used lethal force against entire cities who disobeyed my laws in the past. And I have perfect aim, so I know I literally cannot cause collateral damage, even though my past disciplinary actions are full of collateral damage I could have avoided. For some reason, though, I won't just shoot him. Weird as that is, I could still stand outside that Moe's and tell people exactly what is happening, pointing out the exact location of the trapdoor and the mad scientist both. So what I do is, I go and tell one person in the next town over that there's a mad scientist, but mention nothing else. I then wait 40 years until someone in a third town that going to Moe's is a sin, even though the problem is the trapdoor and not actually the homewrecker burrito inside. But I don't tell him about the trapdoor or the mad scientist. These two people I told will absolutely not write this down because I specifically told illiterate individuals. However, a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of each will write these messages down separately. In a few hundred years, though, someone will compile these into one message. Of course, this message still doesn't contain any mention of the trapdoor, just that Chipotle Mexican Grill is evil because an angry chemist wants you to go there. The details changed in the message from word-of-mouth errors, and because the first few people to translate it into other languages weren't professional scribes. Don't worry, more studious translators will do better in time. Of course, they only have the post-word-of-mouth version to work with, and also one of them drew a doodle of a guy fighting a snail in the margins for some reason, which is weird. Dope as hell, sure, but weird. The message is out there, though. I have saved the people thousands of years in the future who will read the message and perhaps manage to reverse engineer at least a little closer to the original meanings. Or some people, at least. I forgot to mention, but the mad scientist and the trapdoor are only visible to me, even though I have the power to make them visible to everyone at a moment's notice. Obviously, anyone who falls in the trapdoor has no one to blame but themselves at this point. Having rejected demonic possession, and having gained a hankering for what is essentially just a Crunchwrap Supreme, but it's like double the price, let's get back on track and look at the last demonic point. Temptation. Even though it's clearly Satan's thing, whatever. If humans are inherently sinful, demons are once more redundant. Their redundancy is getting redundant at this point. Inherently sinful means the temptations will happen inside of humanity's fucking heads by default. So we don't need dark lizard wizards to shoo us in that direction. Devil's advocate, tee-hee. If demonic temptation is the only thing making us sin, then we're not inherently sinful. And Christianity is explicitly wrong. So for this belief to be logically consistent, demons have to be unnecessary. What are they gonna do? Increase the frequency of humans sinning? Frequency doesn't matter in the Christian worldview. If someone lived a nearly perfect life and sinned once, they burn in hell. Christians will tell you that if you put a finger up your butt and make this motion, that you're just as bad as cannibalistic serial killers. Or worse, if the cannibalistic serial killer signs God's contract, but your butt pleasures go unrepented. Seriously, if everything we do is this bad on its own, what's the goddamn point of demons? Control. Not demons controlling sinners meet Muppets. The church controlling the faithful. Say hello to my recurring theme, people can only use the information available to them. See, the risk with the books, or the music, or whatever thing has become scapegoat du jour, is not intangible, unfalsifiable specters. The risk is that these things are secular. If parishioners acknowledge the secular world as a valid option, some of them will prefer that option and leave the church. Despite being at the forefront of the entire religious premise, the freedom to choose can and often does work against the church's efforts. Demons are a scarecrow the church can plant in front of anything it doesn't approve of. Make the option so scary that good little Christians won't consider it. Demons are even a scarecrow for themselves. So many fundamentalists preach that just thinking too much about demons invites demonic presences. Even an awkward, disheveled college dropout just following through the logical implications of their claims is more risky than they like. If this video ever ends up in front of Christians, some of them will already have clicked away out of fear, and plenty of them will now consider Baneshake's Charlie demonic. Pretty foolish. Obviously, I've been demonic since that video I made about zombies years ago, because zombies have tenuous origins in a non-Christian religion. They really need to catch up. To be blunt, I don't give Beelzebub's bubbling ball sack whether or not this fear-mongering is intentional or incidental. A Christian leader who genuinely believes in demons and a Christian leader who just lies to manipulate others are functionally indistinguishable. If you've made it to the end of this video and you're still uncertain about these things, that's perfectly fine. Take all the time you need to process. A decade ago, I still would have been nervous saying any of this out loud. Just keep this in mind the next time you hear a preacher, or a politician, or any people in a position of power making these claims of spiritual warfare. What do they have to gain from casting demons around? Special thanks to my patrons and all my subscribers as well. I greatly appreciate your patience these days. My life has sort of been imploding a lot. Not because of demons, I think. I'll get back to you on that. But I greatly appreciate it all. If you'd be willing to like and comment on this video, those are engagement things that help it spread. And if you want to subscribe for more, I've got more stuff ongoing. My next episode of A Briefish History of Arkham is currently underway. It's covering Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate, as well as the multiplayer mode that came out with Arkham Origins on launch. And I hope to have that in sooner rather than later. Either way though, I appreciate all of your time watching this wonderful little shenanigan-filled video, and I hope to see you around next time.